And welcome to the live stream. Looking at the last 9 hours of the sun.
In 2018, a crack YouTube
And welcome to the live stream.
was sent to social media prison by an algorithm for the crime.
Looking at the last 9 hours of the sun.
These producers promptly escaped from maximum security social media stockade to the internet underground. Today, still wanted by social media, they survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the Smash team.
All right, we're going to give about 1 minute of lead time for folks to join the chat as we're running late. And we will be right back. 1 minute of lead time, folks. 1 minute. All right, we are back. Let's get this thing started here. And I'm going to bring out the chat right away as we had a little technical difficulty there. And here's the chat. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Harry, Jan, and smAsho staff. Anyway, we're looking at about 8 hours and 45 minutes of solar activity here in 171 angstroms. We do see some activity rising. And let's look at another view here. Do 193 angstroms first, and then we'll go to 304 angstroms. Zoom out so you can see the time and date stamps. We do see a coronal hole north of the equator there, rotating out of the Earth-facing region. And we see some activity rising right here. So something to look at. And the 10.7 centimeter radial flux has come back off of solar minimum levels, back up to 68, I believe, last I checked. We'll look at 304 angstroms also. We've got a lot of other stuff to cover today. So let's get started on some more data. Let's look at magnetic lines at 94 angstroms. And there's the magnetic environment, and that is outdated data. I apologize. That's from the 24th, so 4-day-old data there. Apparently the PFSS data is not coming out. The field strength lines. Let's move on to the real-time solar wind, which we see the phi angle has just moved into an unrest. As we see, it's jumping around currently as the live stream happens. And we do regularly see variations in solar activity during our live streams. We consider it luck, or perhaps it's divine providence. But anyway, the solar wind density has dropped down to 4.96 since yesterday. And the solar wind speed very low at 312. So that's a solar minimum wind speed. Let's look at the magnetosphere movies, starting with the velocity. Trying to start with the velocity. There we go. And I'm on the wrong thing. Here we go. And there's the velocity. Nothing really to write home about there. Actually, quite a low velocity, which you will see with a more orangish red color coming from the left. Highest velocity near the magnetotail. Let's look at the density. For you new viewers out there, please keep in mind the dark blue is high density and the white color is low density. You see a couple variations there in the solar wind density coming in. Nothing too exciting. Here's the pressure. And it's looking pretty weak on the bow shock side. Not surprising considering the solar wind speed is so low. And a little higher pressure in the magnetotail side, giving you some indication of the current flow of this magnetohydrodynamic environment. Powered by plasma and electrical current and transformation and capacitive processes. Let's look at the ground geospace perturbations. First, we'll look at the poles, as that is the location where the majority of the current enters and leaves your planet. We see these standard perturbations here headed toward West Australia on the southern side. On the northern side, we see the primary perturbations here associated with northwestern Greenland and northern Canada, not the Siberian pole. So the movement seems to be going on the Canadian side, and I believe other channels will corroborate. If you disagree or agree or don't care, just leave a comment, and that will help our analytics. As we don't view 1,400 subscribers as any sort of a milestone. Nor do we care when we get there, although we are approaching the 1-year anniversary of a space weather video every single day. It happens around June 5th or 6th. If you've got ideas on what to do for that, leave a comment. We take all comments into consideration, and we read every one, even though we can't respond to every comment anymore. We try to be as interactive as possible. There is a total electron content forecast, pretty low levels of electrons. And you can expect your GPSs to be working well. Check out smAsho if you're not familiar. The mission is to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics. All the other portions of the mission are associated therein. Also to raise the... This is the part where I can't read and I try to figure out how to speak English. To raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space weather and Earth effects. To connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof-of-concept solutions, to publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary fashion, to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomenon, and to optimize value and reduce risk and liability and save lives and resources and adapt, no matter what the adversity is. Shout out David Devine. And to not be ossified in our beliefs and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. If you haven't clicked that notification bell for the YouTube videos, please do so. Also, please click the links in the description, as there are more links coming out as we appear on more platforms. So every little bit counts, folks. Every little bit counts. It's a big deal. Also, check out theveloshop.net. Let's talk about the history of theveloshop.net, owned by local cycling legend Becky Quinn, who I may be visiting today, weather permitting. And anyway, it's become the preeminent bike shop in eastern Pennsylvania and the tri-state area. So with 11 lines of the most iconic brands in the industry, Marty Nothstein, Olympic gold medalist and director of the Valley Preferred Cycling Center, states, "This is my shop. I've raced bike all over the world." And when he says it's his shop, he doesn't mean he owns the shop, by the way, folks. I've raced with Marty many times. He's an interesting fellow. I do not have a hostile relationship with Mr. Nothstein. Anyway, he's raced his bike all over the world. And he recognizes that the Velo Shop is a world-class bike shop. You should too. Have a visit. Visit us in Pennsylvania for some of the best riding on the entire planet. If you'd like to sponsor me directly, please keep in mind you're not going to see words like this on any of my gear or like this, because this is no longer the team. It used to be. This portion of the video censored courtesy theveloshop.net. If you want to sponsor the team, please email me at smashomash@gmail.com. I can put the connections in the right places to get your corporate logos on the jerseys. Again, visit the links in the description. If you would like to support us in any way, keep in mind, this year I am now officially ready to race. All I need is a racing license, which you can buy at the race. So I basically just need a license now and to pin some numbers and then go pedal in anger and hatred. And I'll go very, very fast. And maybe listen to some Slayer while I'm doing time trials. I don't know. It could be. Here's a synoptic map for today. Not a lot going on. No sunspots. Small coronal holes are rotating out of the Earth-facing region. So pretty weak activity here, although there is some activity rising on the eastern limb. Check out spaceweather.com, talking about SpaceX Starlink objects. If you're not familiar, SpaceX is launching a space-based, satellite-based internet. And it's an interesting concept. Will it work? Will it be reliable? Will it be of any benefit to anybody? We're hoping. Anyway, there's a bunch of small satellites going up in the air. The Starlink system, if you're not familiar with it, I don't know what to tell you. Read up. So 10.7 centimeter radial flux up to 68 now. Back off of minimum levels. Once again, we are awaiting some cycle 25 activity, such as plages, sunspots, with a reverse polarity. And when I say reverse, I mean reverse pertaining to the polarity of cycle 24. So let's look at spaceweathernews.com. We see X-ray flux is completely flatlined, like a dead patient. And we see some magnetometer spikes here. And it should be smoothed out here for a couple of days. So most of these line crossings and perturbations are apparently complete. We'll get more in depth into that in a minute. KP index is at 3 for the last 9 hours. And let's look at the spiral here, the Enlil spiral. We don't always do this. And the data's a little on the old side here, but that's okay. Nothing really to note anyway. Now, we do see a big dip in the electron flux here. And just low levels of electrons, folks. It's not because of protons this time. This is just low electron levels. So that explains why your GPSs have very small errors even at the surface and why there are no charging hazards. F2 layer is very discharged, especially on the nighttime side. See all that red? That is a discharging planet. Discharge, charge. It's what makes the world go round, folks. Let's not get into the weeds on that, shall we? Here's the aurora forecast. And there's the Australis. Australis Borealis. Seems like it's prime territory for a poem to be written. Let's look at cosmic rays. By the way, I'm a published poet. Here's a Apatity. We see a down tick at Apatity, and we see a down tick at Barentsburg in cosmic ray flux. Also, let's look at Athens. Solar activity has popped up just a little bit from the most minimum levels, and we are seeing the correlation in the data here. Looks like it's leveling off at Athens also, at least not ticking up. Here's Mexico City, pretty flat there. Moscow, off of its recent highs. And let's take a look if we can see the old data here. Looks like they have specific events. Oh, these are enhancements. Anyway, let's just move on to Oulu and the 2 Antarctica monitors before we confuse our viewers or ourselves. Here's Oulu, leveled off and ticked down there. Here's DOMC Antarctica. Looks like we're off the lows there. And DOMB corroborating with DOMC for once. Usually they don't. There are links to the things that we cover in the description below the video. Here's the Gong 2. And although it is a fairly polarically uniform environment here, so in terms of the expected charge in the heliosphere, we're looking at South Pole oriented charge designated in red. However, we are going to see some striations in the magnetic environment associated with this bunched up bit of plasma here. And there is some active region rising. So it looks to me like this is going to be toward this might be south of the solar equator. We've been seeing all the activity north of the equator lately. And based on the way this looks, I believe the more active region that's rising. And we're going to look at stereo A a little in depth. In fact, let's go there. So here's stereo A. This is the coronagraph. And there's really not a lot to comment on here. Let's get into the weeds. And I want to see different images here from stereo A. So I think I have to go to page 8. Let's see how this one works out. No, we're going to skip that. Page 9. I'm not exactly sure which instrument to look at for this particular. As some of these things will not work correctly when you try to get them to run. You see here. Try to look at magnetosphere. I'm looking for something very specific at stereo A, by the way. All right, let's go all the way back. Okay, here we go. Here's a stereo A. We'll do the stereo A 171. That's angstroms. We should be able to see this activity rising. It should give us some idea as to how active it is. And the data looks ancient. Let's see if we can get the correct data here. And it's only going to show us the 17th through the 23rd, it looks like. But you can see there is an active region here. Man, it is north of the equator, but it's very close to the equator, which is kind of odd considering considering the end of the cycle. Let's check the 284 angstroms just to see if we can get. This looks a little bit later. This looks like better data. And we'll blow that up to maximum size. Nope, it's only through the 23rd. So, okay, if you say so. Anyway, let's look at the Gong 2 again. Actually, look at the ecliptic plane field plot. Sorry, the synoptic field plot. This will actually show us what's going on over there. And we'll hit play there. There's the full screen mode. So there is an active region here. Looks like a legit sunspot. In fact, it might be two sunspots. I think it's actually two sunspots there. Excuse me. Right in succession, just approaching stereo A. So this data 1 hour and 13 minutes old. And let's move on here before we get senior citizen checks in the mail. I mean, Social Security checks in the mail for being too old. And the sun is completely out of alignment here. It must be in between Mercury and Venus's orbits. Wow. What is the deal? There we go. Hey, look, oh my gosh, look at the sun. What is it doing? There we go. Anyway, here's the planets' locations. We see Earth creeping up on a Jupiter conjunction here. Here's where it'll be in 7 days. So if you get up before dawn, you should be able to see Jupiter and Saturn up there. Check it out. Some good footage to be taken. Located on the ecliptic. And we also have Venus and the moon showing up. Check us out on Instagram. I don't think I posted anything yesterday. Instagram.com/smAsho. Also on Twitter. No, I don't tweet. No, I don't tweet. But you'll be able to share on that platform via the links provided below the video in the description. Also, Facebook.com/smAsho, which will keep putting up this stupid dialogue box every single day, asking us for a phone number, which it already has. And now apparently you do also, YouTube. So congratulations. You can call us as well as email us at smashomash@gmail.com. Thanks to Facebook moronically putting up the phone number without having anybody actually go to Facebook. So well done, Mark. I don't know who you're hiring to write the software, but it's crap. Just like your stock. So check out minds.com/smAsho, an open source software platform, which will not censor you and it won't shadow ban you. And it might not hold you back to less than 1,400 subscribers, such as YouTube. Please press like and subscribe if you haven't already. Press the notification bell. You may even get updates from us. We cover the solar activity long before anybody else, and I challenge anybody else to suggest otherwise, as they'll be wrong, because I'm faster than them. Largest quake in a long time, located 89 kilometers south-southwest of Homer, Alaska. Largest quake in the U.S. for an extended period at a 5.8 magnitude. Here's the interactive map. There's a location located out in near the Shalik of streAm. What the hell? What? The Shalik of Strait? The Shalik of Strait. That's a real thing. A little south of the Cook Inlet. Something with a name. That makes sense. Anyway, there's a location of that quake, 5.8 magnitude. Let us know if you're an Alaskan viewer who felt that, which I highly doubt. See a 5.3 in Papua New Guinea, a 4.7 at depth in Indonesia, heads up there for a larger quake at the surface, 4.5 in New Zealand. Here's a 4.3 in Afghanistan. As Middle Eastern quakes continue, shout out Middle Eastern viewers. 4.4 at Chile at the surface. 4.4 Chile, also near the surface. 5.8 South Sandwich Islands. Used to be an odd place to see quakes. Now we see once a month or so. 4.7 at Papua New Guinea. 4.0 southeast of the volcano. It made the list, so let's look at the map. There's a location of that. In the western Cook Inlet, southwest of Anchorage. Shout out Alaskan viewers. Let us know if you felt the tremor, etc. I know those inlets can be an issue. I doubt there were tsunamis generated by either of those quakes, but let's look anyway. As inlets have the ability to focus water. No apparent tsunami. And how's it going, all the viewers? Thanks for tuning in, folks. Guten Morgen, Harivaya. Guten Morgen. Gern geschehen, Harivaya. Almost 1 full year of smAsho mash. Indeed, yes, Lucy Fur. Nice name, by the way. Do you watch the Netflix show? It's pretty good. And where are we? You are located in the Milky Way galaxy. If you are located anyplace else and you are hearing this message, please comment on the video. If you are thinking of moving to the Andromeda galaxy or to M87 or to Cygnus A, please leave a comment, as that's some pretty interesting stuff. Seriously, where are we? I'm totally lost. Check it out. We got some quakes in the US. Here's a 2.9 at Ridgely, Tennessee. Seriously, I have no idea where I am in this. Okay, South Sandwich Islands, Papua New Guinea. There's the volcano quake. That's a deep quake, actually. So that's close enough to be considered a blot echo, folks. Anchorage heads up. You could have a heavier quake at the surface. So 4.5 at Indonesia at depth. Heads up there for a larger quake at the surface. A very far north quake here off the east coast of Greenland at Svalbard. Shout out seed collectors. It's a 4.4. Here's a 4.7 in Indonesia, 4.4 at Indonesia. Very far in the eastern portion. I mean the western portion. It's a 4.6 at Peru, a 4.7 at Peru, a 4.6 at Turkey. Here ends the quakes section. We're going to let the pressure maps play through so that if you know how to predict quakes and you're in a location in the danger zone, this might actually help you. As low pressure systems persist over the central US and flooding continues, as well as tornadoes every single day. Anticyclone forming over southern Australia. You can expect some dry weather in the south of Australia. And some anomalous conditions developing over places like India. Shout out India. Earthquake risk up for you. Also South America. A low is pressing in there. persistent low over India, anticyclone over southern Australia, which actually lowers your earthquake risk, and a persistent low around Kamchatka. Let's not even explain it anymore and move on before the end of the world, which is not going to be caused by carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide has nothing to do with the Earth's temperature, at least the causation of the Earth's temperature. Anyway, here's your volcano list. We've got a Bico back on the list, producing a 10,000-foot plume. Dacono, 7,000-foot plume there. Revenador with a 17,000-foot plume, and Sabancaya producing a 27,000-foot plume. The star of the list, Sabancaya. Shout out Peruvian viewers. You're probably not watching this video. If you know some Peruvian viewers, send them a link. Here's the weather.gov, and talk about some warnings. We've got straight up freeze warnings in Maine and New Hampshire, as well as all kinds of flood warnings all over the place. Check out weather.gov to find out more information. We can't spend all day covering every possible piece of science data. So here's the US Doppler radar as Kansas is getting hit with severe thunderstorms, and it's snowing a little bit more in Maine and Colorado and Wyoming. So we'll zoom in on that Kansas storm. If your dog's called Toto, please put him in the basement. If you're around these extreme convergence zones. Hastings, there's one more coming in. And Lincoln, it's going to rain for quite a while. You're going to get a little trained. Omaha, you are getting probably hit the hardest of anybody. Shout out 311. If you're watching the video, please leave a comment. And post on your social media accounts. Maybe get us to 1,400 subscribers. We'll be so amazed and so stoked. Large destructive tornado strikes Dayton as severe storms ravage Ohio. We've got links in the description if you want to read about it, as I don't. Evacuations remain in effect as swollen Arkansas River threatens communities in Oklahoma and Arkansas. There's flooding all across the U.S., folks. If you're not aware, plantings are delayed everywhere. Your food prices will rise. Please plan accordingly. Here's your lightning map. And shout out Iowans. You are back in the crosshairs again. Des Moines, it's likely on the way. If you're not familiar with lightningmaps.org and you live in some place like Columbus, well, get familiar because there's going to be some thunder heading in. If you're in Grand Island, there's the real-time expected sound wave map. So next time you hear lightning via the sound of thunder over your head, check out lightningmaps.org, zoom in, and you'll be able to see what's going on. Actually, let's look at the what's going on. There we go. I clicked on the right thing now. How do you like that? We're going to look at the shortwave radiation map here first to get some idea of what's going on in the cloud layer. Shout out Wizard of Oz fans. Please don't allow your house to land on any wicked witches. Anyway, there's a shortwave radiation map. This is what we use when it's too dark to use the visible satellite. It gives us some idea of the cloud layer. You can see fog at nighttime using this. As water emits radiation. I don't know if you're aware, but it's true. Let's go to the water vapor map here to give you folks that are in the storm track a little better concept of what's going to happen next. We don't have to get super in depth into it. But that's what's going on. And keep in mind that dry air is more massive than wet air. And this one doesn't really show you scale, but your wet air is located these areas. It looks like a massive amount of rain just fell in Iowa, as well as western Illinois. And that's your local Earth spot for the day. If you are northeast of that, batten down the hatches. Could produce wind, damaging hail, severe thunder, severe lightning, etc. And so we encourage our viewers to understand the distinction portrayed on the screen. Let's define a word. Spam. Unsolicited, usually commercial messages such as emails, text messages, or internet postings sent to a large number of recipients or posted in a large number of places. In other words, when you look at what's trending on YouTube, you will find a lot of
spam.
And if you don't press the notification bell on our YouTube page, youtube.com/smAsho, you'll probably see a bunch of
spam
in your YouTube feed instead of interesting information. Now, if you've been spying on yourself on purpose by installing one of these ridiculous, nonsensical, and barely even functioning devices known as Alexa, a newly released patent shows just how much creepier it can get. It's a smart speaker, folks. It's a smart speaker. It's a smart listener, too, because apparently they like to listen for a wake word. A wake word. Yes, that's right. It's a device to turn on its extended speech recognition systems in order to respond to spoken commands. In other words, record entire conversations and then send those to Amazon, as Amazon's trying to get better marketing information on you than Google. So why don't you just prevent both of them from doing that by using Brave browser, who's attempting to fix the internet while other companies are trying to break the internet with an utterly outdated and outmoded business model of attempting to spy on you, as if you're not going to use a VPN and figure out various ways to prevent them. Please install Brave browser if you haven't tried it. It's not a piece of crap, and neither is DuckDuckGo.com. It's actually an objective search engine. So it won't track you. And not only that, it won't store your personal information, and it won't follow you around with ads. Please don't Google anything, and please don't use Google as a verb, because it's not a verb. It's a spying organization that is an outdated, outmoded, busted company. Now, MIT rocket scientist weighs in on leaked Syria investigation memo. Hours after this story came out, we came out and we said these attacks were not performed by the Syrian government. They were performed by terrorists within the country, and they were ground-based canisters, not aircraft-dropped canisters. We've got links to this article also if you'd like to know the difference between your ass and a hole in the ground. You'll understand that Assad had no purpose to drop chemical weapons in the small terrorist enclave in which he was alleged to, Douma, Syria. Didn't happen. And the U.S. dropped several $1 million worth of bombs on an airstrip after giving warning so everybody could evacuate for no actual reason. So this is one of the many reasons why we like to see the government do less things instead of more. Please read the article from Zero Hedge. And for that, we thank you. Here's another article on SciTech Daily about how about how scientists gain better understanding of exotic atmospheric chemistry. And we're talking about the fact that the fusion on the sun happens on the surface, not in the core. because there is no fusion reactor in there, at least that we can tell. And there's no observational evidence suggesting that there is. If Neil deGrasse Tyson tells you there's a fusion reactor inside the sun, I'll tell you there's not. Since he can't prove it, he should shut his face. I'm pretty sure there are people out there whose dandruff knows more about astrophysics than Neil deGrasse Tyson's actual brain. Let's look at the last 2 days of solar activity in 94 angstroms, as it shows a lot of data. Ooh, full screen. How about the full screen? Yeah. All right, there we go. And I'm going to let some music play, and I will be right back as I need a slight break. All right, I'm back. And tales of my retiring from cycling have been greatly exaggerated. Let me try to get through the comments here. Solar minimum is still on, Snowflake. It's just not as deep as it was yesterday or 2 days ago. By the way, if anybody's wondering when we're predicting cycle 25 to start, it's in September. We're going to see reverse polarity plages and sunspots by September. That's my official statement on it. And I've been saying this since about a year ago. And there are various reasons. So thanks for commenting, everybody. Lots of comments today. We did start pretty late. And I'm looking at delaying today's bike riding as my 3-day weekend continues. By tomorrow, you'll probably figure out when it started and ended. Until then, it's classified. So yeah, Deo Presso Liber, folks. Deo Presso Liber. You're out of here. I'd like to see another view here. How about the totally blank? Oh, that's not what we want. We'll do the rare 131 angstroms view. This is the other view that takes 5 times as many images like the 94 angstroms view. So we see this little active region here in the northeast. And it's been simmering down over the past 36 hours. A little bit of activity rising there on the east near the equator. Besides that, Not a lot going on. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks, donors, subscribers, etc. Please visit the links in the description, as there's a lot of additional reading and other material from us out there, as well as ways to help support the operation and keep the videos in existence. So when you're staring at the sun, remember, don't drink. And if you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Just don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.